Good morning. This is Erica with Launching Legacies. We're back with our daily devotional. Today we're going to discuss the process of maturing our faith and the role that pressure takes in that. So what I've gone through is a progression of letting go of what I have, letting go of what I know, and letting go of other people's ideas, and then really coming into a relationship with God in which I'm relying on Him totally, and that requires mature faith. And He's building faith and He's requiring faith at the same time, so it's kind of the cyclical process. But what I haven't talked about is the pressure, because there's some misnomer in evangelical Christians that we are when we have faith, then everything is perfectly fine and we don't have any struggles or any difficulties or any worries or any concerns, and that's not true, right? As I matured in my faith, actually what happened is the pressure increased, right? I regularly, on a monthly basis, even with the budget and even with plans and all of that stuff in place, because I'm in a place of maturing my faith to a level that is higher than it was when I started this journey, I regularly experience pressure. And I know that it's designed into this place that God has put me, right? I know that He wants me to experience this pressure. Even He wants me to appreciate and delight in the pressure of not knowing what's going to happen next. And so I'll get to a day in my month, and I'll be looking at bills that need to be paid, and I won't know how in the world they're going to get paid. And I kind of start getting, it used to be in the beginning when I wasn't used to the pressure, I would become a little bit anxious, and I have to go to my prayer closet and pray, or find somebody to pray with me, help me, pray with me, because I'm not sure what's going to happen. But now I've become kind of delighted in this pressure right now, as the pressure comes of not knowing, and I'm literally talking about to the deadline. It's midnight and something is due the next day, and I don't want things to be imbalanced or unpaid for. But now I'm kind of delighting in the pressure. I'm like, okay, God, what are you going to do next, right? Because I know that there's the pressure that I'm feeling is a build-up for me either to abandon my faith or receive greater faith and put greater faith in God, right? So it's either going to be abandoned or matured at this place. And so I'm coming often in this last year and possibly in the year to come, and maybe in years after that, I'm coming to this impause place of which I need an exaggerated amount of faith in order to deal with the pressure of not knowing what's going to happen next. And I'm talking about things as vital as paying the rent, and I'm literally coming upon it on the date. The date is coming, the date is coming, the date is coming, or the date is here now. And what's going to happen? I have until midnight to take care of this business, and I don't know how it's going to happen. And the pressure builds up, but then I get giddy. Now I get giddy because what happened is I'm like, God, you're going to make a way. You're going to make a way. I'm going to trust you. I'm going to trust you. But becoming appreciative of pressure is something that we are not used to doing. It's not something that we're indoctrinated into, right? It's not something that no matter what other people believe about, about Christians, modern Christians, we have not succumbed to nearly, especially North American Christians, have not succumbed to nearly as much pressure as Christians in the past, right? We haven't been for the most part, we haven't been locked up in chains. We haven't been in intense situations where we have to say, will we choose God? We haven't been in these type of things. And so for us to understand the true value of faith, our faith has to be elevated to a level that's much more uncomfortable than our regular everyday life. Oh, I believe God's going to make a way. Oh, I know He's going to do it. These very simple places, and oh, I know He's going to do it. But you see, when we work a regular job, we're used to a regular paycheck. If we need more money, we work overtime. If we need more money, we pick up a job here, or we do this there, and we still control and manipulate how much pressure is on our life by the decisions that we make. Oh, I need to go pawn something. I came from a place where people pawn stuff if they didn't have the money. Oh, I'm gonna go pawn this, or I'm gonna go make a deal here, or I'm gonna do this little trade, or I'm gonna figure this thing out. But what happens when there is no extra overtime, right? There is no one to say, well, can you loan me? When there is no this and when there is no that, when there is no, people are gonna be still moved to help you, but they'll be moved by the hand hand of God, right? And so sometimes I'm just working, I'm counseling, I'm coaching, I'm teaching, I'm going out places and talking about the Lord. I'm doing my devotionals, and I have no concept of what God is about to do to meet the apparent need that is coming up. And all of a sudden, he rises up like he is, mighty to save, right? Rises up and makes a way. And I'm like, God, you're good. Oh, you're good. I knew you were going to do that. High five. And we're on. Right? And we just keep going. And the pressure mounts up, but I've started to learn to appreciate it, because there is no alternative method by which we can take care of these needs. Even if I was to rely on people, I would have exhausted them. I would have wore them all the way out, asking them for different things. They would have been completely done dealing with me by this time had I ran to a person every single time I needed something, or ran to my experiences, or ran to what my repertoire. Those things would have been so depleted at this point. All I can do is appreciate the pressure that comes, because that pressure, the word says, builds my faith greater. And so I want to read from you the scripture from James, the 1st chapter. And we'll start. This is the Message paraphrase. So the verses are a little bit intertwined, excuse me. And so we're going to do James 1 verse 2, and I'll read through it. It says, "Consider it sheer gift, friends, when tests and challenges come from all sides." Okay, they're going to come at you from all sides. Here goes the thing. You know that under pressure, your faith life is forced into open and shows its true colors. Right? Is your faith depleted? You need some overtime in order to take care of this or to take care of that. You're relying on something other than what God has given you, or what he's promised you, or the way that he's going to make. Now, don't get this wrong. I'm going to stop in the midst of this reading this passage. It's not bad to work overtime. I'm not saying that at all. If you have a responsibility that God has given you to take care of your family, take care of your family at all costs. But there's going to be a time, if you're maturing in faith, in which you don't have access to the things that you've had access to. And that's what I'm talking about now. There is no overtime for Launching Legacies. I'm always working overtime, right? There is no payday advance for Launching Legacies. I'm living by faith every day. And so that's what I'm talking about here. Not that if you have a responsibility to care for your family, you ought to do what you've been tasked to do by the Lord. So if you're going to be the one that takes care, then you need to do what the Lord has called you to do. But what happens when there isn't that's not an option for you? And God is saying to you, I want you to grow in your faith, and I'm going to use this pressure so that you can visibly see what your faith looks like, and that you can see it grow exponentially as you experience this pressure that I've allowed to come against you. And so what does James say, excuse me. So back to the verse, James is saying, he says, look, so don't try to get out of anything prematurely. That's what it says, right? Faith is your faith life is going to be forced in the open because of pressure. And then he goes on to say, so don't try to get out of anything prematurely, right? Don't try to escape. Let it do its work so you become mature and well developed, not deficient in any way. And so it's like, what happens then? We get to a place in which we're grateful for the pressure. We're appreciating the pressure. We're not trying to get out of something prematurely. We're not trying to get a scheme or something to go. We're not even going into a prayer closet and begging God to please make a way, please make a way. Listen, he knows what you have need of. He already knows that the way needs to be made. I don't need to go beg and petition him and beg and petition him like he doesn't know me, right? Like I'm a stranger knocking on his door, or a beggar on the side of the road waiting for God to pass by. And I'm like, look, do you see my sign? Can you give me something? No, we're not living that kind of life. I have a personal relationship with God. He is mine and I am his. And in that relationship, he knows what I have need of. But because I don't get it immediately, because there's pressure, doesn't mean that he stopped loving me, or that he's not concerned about me, or that he's not moved by my situation. He loves me. He wants what's best for me. He is adorning me with his love all the time. And pressure just means that my faith life needs to grow up. It needs to come up and believe that God is who he said he is. How are you dealing with pressure? Do you appreciate it? Are you grateful for pressure in your life? Well, if you're going to mature in your faith, you need to learn to appreciate pressure. Appreciate these standstills in which you have no concept of what's going to happen, where you hear nothing. You're just not hearing anything. And you're like, I need something. And nothing's happening. Can you learn to appreciate that? Because for most of us, it's distressing. For most of us, and for me, even literally a year ago, even as much I thought I had so much faith. A year ago, I'm telling you, silence was distressing. A bill being due, and I'm not sure how it's going to get paid. That was distressing for me. But now I've come from distress to appreciation. Lord, I know you'll make a way. And sometimes it requires me to move fast. Sometimes God makes a way and it's so quick that I'm like, oh. And he's like, yeah, move as quickly as I did to get that, money in the right place, right? He'll make a way and somehow I'll have the what I need to take care of this other area. And then he'll say, move as quickly as I did, right? I move quickly. Now you move quickly and go, get the stuff where it needs to be. And so that everything is cared for. And that's okay too. But I've learned not to be distressed about it. I'm like, it's regular. It's a part of my life. Oh, okay, that needs to be taken care of. I think the Lord, he'll do that. I'm not going to go and spend more time with God in my time of pressure than I would in my time of anything else. I'm not going to do that. And the reason why I'm not going to do that is because I don't want to give God a misunderstanding. And I know this is my personal thing, right? I don't want to give God a misunderstanding about me. I never liked the friend that called you only when they're having dysfunctional relationships. Oh, he broke up with me and they're holding on to things and what am I going to do? I never liked that type of friend. I really don't want to call them a friend, right? Because the only time I hear from them, or the time I hear from them the most, is when they feel like they can barely stand. Now, I'm fine with the friend that might need my support every now and then, but if I'm only talking to you, or I'm talking to you hours and hours and hours because you're in distress, and you tend to be in distress quite often, and I'm thinking, okay, you're just needy. That's what this is looking like. It looks like you're just needy and you don't have a resource within yourself or within your faith or within your relationship with God that you can stand on. You're using me as a resource. And I feel like that's not an appropriate way to deal with this relationship. And I feel the same way about God. Yes, I'm dependent on him. Yes, I love him. Yes, he's mine and I'm his. Yes, every day he gives me new things. But I'm not calling him every day and saying, did you know that this didn't work? I know that he knows. Why? Because he's an all-knowing God. I know that he's aware. I know that he loves me. I don't go back and doubt, I must have done something wrong. Because listen, he didn't change. The circumstance did. The pressure increased, but he remains the same. And so we trust him just the same. We appreciate the pressure because we know the pressure is for us. It's not for God. The pressure is not necessary to say that God is who he is. He is who he is. The pressure shows us who we are. It tells us where we stand. It tells us what we are able to deal with. And now that means I need to say, oh Lord, I need to decide. I'm either going to trust you or I'm not. I'm either going to appreciate this or I'm going to abandon my faith. What am I going to do? I hope that you learn to appreciate your pressure. Yeah. Do, of course, what God has told you to do. If he's tasked you to do something like care for your family and you got to work overtime, go ahead and work your overtime. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the times when overtime won't exist. I'm talking about the times where that's not where you are on the journey. When you get to that place, can you appreciate pressure? Can you be grateful for pressure, knowing that it's working out some faith in you? It's working out the true colors of your faith. Not trying to escape it. Just saying, God, I thank you. I'll be okay. Because you've done it all. And I can trust you. I hope that you can grow in that. Have a wonderful day. And I will speak with you soon. Goodbye.